Hi Noshers, my name is Micah, the host of Not Your Bubby's Nosh, a conversation about your favorite and least favorite Jewish foods, your go-to source for holiday meal inspiration, and a place to discuss and kvetch about which bubby made it best. Today, we are talking about Manischewitz. What is going on with Manischewitz these days? Whoever is doing their marketing is either doing a fantastic or a terrible job. I cannot decide, but there is no brand, in my opinion, that beats Manischewitz when it comes to quintessential Jewish food. I mean, I feel like the first time I ever got drunk was on that Manischewitz wine, if you can even call it wine. So here's a little history about Manischewitz. It is a kosher food company from the US. It's known for matzah and their Manischewitz wine, obviously. It started in 1888 and became public in 1923. And it had been under family control for over 100 years until 1991. It is now owned by a private equity firm, and it is the world's largest matzah manufacturer, one of the largest kosher brands in America, and really, I think the first American exporter of matzah, which is pretty cool. And they are located in New Jersey, obviously, in Newark, and you can find their products all over. And it was actually founded in Ohio, in Cincinnati. Who knew? Who knew and why Ohio? But Manischewitz is synonymous with their matzah, their wine, their gefilte fish. They have borscht. They have everything under the sun. And who would have thought that when they opened it in the late 1800s, it would become the food conglomerate that it is now? It was started by Rabbi Dov Ber Manischewitz, obviously, and he opened this bakery in Cincinnati. And they've been around, like I said, for over 130 years. That is longevity, if you ask me. And so in the past, I would say Manischewitz didn't need to do a lot of advertising because it's become such a household brand. And oftentimes these older household brands don't rely on marketing. They rely on the feelings of nostalgia and familial traditions and just can ride the coattails of holidays. And that's how they do their marketing, which is really interesting. And they did have or do have a slogan of Mano Manischewitz, which I believe pertains to their wine. And that's a whole other thing. I mean, that Concord grape wine, is it even wine? Is it just juice? I don't know, but that was my Zeta's favorite drink. I have this distinct memory of going to visit my Zeta Arnold in his nursing home in his last days. And I believe it would have been around Passover because we brought matzah and we also smuggled in a bottle of Manischewitz wine. And we put it in these like little tiny pill cups almost. And we put it up to his lips and he just grabbed my arm and just like shot it up as if to take a shot of the Manischewitz wine, licked his lips, and he just absolutely loved it. So I think with Manischewitz, for me at least, they don't need to do much marketing unless it's for a new product. I've been involved in a couple campaigns for some of their new products like a borscht and an apple butter. But otherwise, like if I'm buying matzah, there's really only two brands I look for, and that's Straits and Manischewitz. So they're already on my mind all year round. And I think that that's the beauty of being such a long-term and long-standing brand. And so when it comes to Manischewitz today, somebody new took over their marketing. I don't know who's doing it. Is it the intern or is it someone who just knows exactly what they're doing? But Manischewitz is being a sassy brand and in the best way possible. And I absolutely love it. So they are taking these like moments on Twitter and social media and running with them. So for example, they tweeted about a Manischewitz frozen gefilte dog. Let me say that again. A Manischewitz frozen gefilte dog, like a gefilte pop. So I guess because of the hot weather, perhaps it's hot out, especially in Israel and across the US, there's heat waves going on. People are cooling off with popsicles, and they decided it's probably Photoshop. Oh, I hope it's Photoshop and not legitimate, but they asked, are frozen gefilte fish pops the answer to this heat wave, to the schwitz that we're experiencing? Are gefilte fish pops the answer? Is it the perfect blend of protein and electrolytes that we didn't know we needed? I don't know. But they posted this product as almost like in response, hopefully as a joke, after Oscar Mayer, like the hot dog company, posted something about a hot dog flavored ice treat with a mustard swirl. And then bam, Manischewitz says, no, we're going to one-up you and do this with a fish mixture with this gefilte fish pop. And who knows what's next? Why don't we just start freezing pickles and making that into pickle pops? Are we making a borscht pop? Like, what else is next for you, Manischewitz? So they said in their tweet a photo of this Manischewitz gefilte pop, which kind of looks like a hot dog. I mean, it looks like a hot dog on a stick. It says, now frozen on a stick. You asked for it. Hashtag coming soon. Hashtag gefilte pops. Hashtag gefilte dogs. So when they were asked by the Jerusalem Park if it was real or just marketing, the Manischewitz simply said, there's no better way to end the summer than cool off with a gefilte pop. All the fun of ice pops and the traditional taste of Bubby's kitchen. What? Like it's obviously just a viral marketing thing, but like what a fun way to reinvent this brand. What a fun way to take something that's been around forever and start appealing and speaking to a younger generation. For me, when I see gefilte fish or a Manischewitz product like gefilte fish or a soup, I think of someone old. I think of, we made all that stuff at home, but I think of like something I might bring to, I don't know, someone who doesn't have the ability to make it for themselves anymore. And not because it's yummy, but because it's nostalgic and because it's a nice gesture. So I never think of Manischewitz as being the cool brand, right? It's like the staple brand. It's like having Heinz tomato ketchup in the fridge. It's not necessarily because it's a taste thing and maybe there's new, more artisanal products on the market, but it's totally the nostalgia and the familiarity and the comfort that one of these old brands brings. So they, over the past year, especially since I think they were acquired by a new marketing agency in 2019, I want to say, but since then they are just like going ham, pun intended, with the marketing online and especially on Twitter. They even showed a gefilte fish topped pizza, borscht macaroons for Passover. And my favorite were these hash brownie macaroons, just a very simple image and graphic on social media like Instagram and Twitter that had essentially pot macaroons, like chocolate and marijuana macaroons. And I think it's so funny and so smart to get people talking and to get people sharing and excited. And even with these Manischewitz gefilte dogs, when they posted it, it says, would you try it? Or somebody else posted it, Jews of NY and Manischewitz Co. on Instagram posted it together. And people are saying, when are they coming out? Somebody says, no. Someone says, no, want a hot dog that isn't red meat. There's kosher turkey dogs or veg dogs, but never fish dogs. Ew. Somebody else says, I would try this. OMG, heart smiley face. No, so wrong. I'd try this faster than the mac and cheese. AI bot gone very wrong. These are real. I love gefilte fish, but not this much. And just, it's so fun to see all of this engagement. And in the age of social media now, marketing and advertising isn't just putting out a great ad. It's about engaging and interacting with an audience to build a community, to build a group of people who want to talk to you and give you their opinion and time and interest. And one of these things, like these Gefilte dogs, every single time someone shares this, to say, oh my gosh, what? That is a win for Manischewitz. So this Gefilte popsicle isn't the first thing. In June, I believe, of this year, they first introduced the idea of Gefilte dogs, kind of, I think, for 4th of July. And when they posted or tweeted, they said, you asked, we listened. The R&D team hasn't slept all week. And now the factory will be cranking out these babies 24/6, obviously because of Shabbat, just in time for July 4th. American tradition your bubby will love. I love it. And then also they say on Twitter, vegetarian and health conscious diets are exploding and Gefilte dogs fit perfectly into that lifestyle. And who else but Manischewitz to feed families wholesome and delicious foods for July 4th. So that's when Jerusalem Post asked if it was real. And I think that's they're not wrong, right? Like we've mentioned it before, like the rise in plant-based food and flexitarian and pescatarianism is real. And Manischewitz kind of does need to pivot some of these more traditional foods that don't appeal to a younger generation to stay afloat and stay in business, because what a shame it would be if Manischewitz didn't exist. So this is them not necessarily making the products, but making the buzz around their products real. I think it is just the most fun product ever. And for someone, I'm a millennial, but I create a lot of content for people under 45. Typically is between 20 and 45 is my real bread and butter. And people want something new, and people aren't just looking for classic dishes anymore. People are looking for ways to have a little bit of their culture in their everyday life in a way that feels authentic. So are Gefilte dogs authentic? Are Gefilte dogs going to change the face of Jewish food? Absolutely not. Probably not. But they probably will get the younger generation and younger people talking about Manischewitz, seeing it as a brand that's contemporary and exciting, and not just a brand that their bubby and Zeta would eat at home, which is really the biggest thing. So what do you think of these things and these conversations that are being had on Twitter by Manischewitz and people asking and sharing? Like, that is Manischewitz's marketing team doing a really good job. Because now every time I see a Manischewitz box, I don't think of necessarily my grandparents having a stale one at the back of their cupboard. I see a brand who's like adapting to the 21st century and the needs of the next generation of consumers. Like, maybe they should make vegetarian alternative to some of these things. Maybe they should make something that is a little bit in a smaller vessel for smaller families. Maybe they are on the right track of looking for something that actually sticks, and just this is their way to test concepts before putting any time into developing things. What if they came out with these Manischewitz Gefilte dogs, which are, they're not meat, so you could totally put some cheese on there if you wanted, like you do you. But maybe somebody had this wild idea and they said, hey, let's take this crazy idea and let's test it. Let's test the concept with this audience to see if anyone would actually buy this stuff. Or if they don't want it, will it spark enough of a conversation that people are just thinking about Manischewitz, that people see us as a brand that can adapt and change from 1888 to 2022, 2023 and beyond? I don't know. And all I know is that they had me thinking and talking about Manischewitz on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday outside of Passover completely randomly. And it was probably during a time where their sales were a little slow. And this was a good way for them to be like, hey, we're more than matzah. We're more than wine. We're more than X, Y, and Z. Because sometimes I think outside of Passover, we kind of forget that some of these brands need to exist from one Passover to another, and supporting these local, or not local, but like long-standing brands is also important. If Manischewitz didn't exist, like where do you get your matzah? Think of how your Jewish food experience would change. There are so many brands out there that have such deep roots in our culture, especially for myself as a North American Ashkenazi raised Jew. If I think of food brands that are like so quintessential, I think of Manischewitz first. I think of Gold's for the mustard and horseradish. I think of Bubby's Pickles, but that's a little newer. I think of You-Bet chocolate syrup to make an egg cream. And I think of these brands, and I think that Manischewitz is one of the ones that is really doing something special and appealing to me as a consumer, or just enjoying those stories and changes and growth of some of these food brands, where I love to engage with these. I love to have the opportunity to engage with some of my favorite brands. And I think that it brings up a lot of conversations about Jewish food and the importance of it and what it means. So I think what a fun thing for Manischewitz to do and to partake in. And like, let's just pop onto their website and see if this is an actual thing. I mean, I don't think it is. When I'm going on here, I see their gefilte fish tab, and there's definitely no gefilte dogs, but honestly, gefilte dogs sound a little better than gefilte fish and jellied broth. Or like, why would I want something gelled? What's so different from this than a gefilte dog that has people up in arms? I get the difference between macaroons and borscht macaroons. And the hash brownie macaroons, I think, would probably do quite well. But you know what? That got me excited to look at the other flavors of macaroons, because I didn't know that they had birthday cake macaroons or red velvet or Rocky Road. I didn't know these things because I was so, I guess, linear in the things that I was buying because it's just what I grew up with. But here they are getting me to go onto their website to fact check if gefilte dogs are a real thing. Spoiler alert, they're not. But I would just say go onto their site and see what kind of new products they have, because you can see that they are evolving and growing with the needs of their consumer. And I think that is such a cool story and dialogue to have with these Jewish brands, because Jewish food's been around a long time, and to be able to modernize it and to make it exciting for generations to come, that is where our Jewish food culture and history will survive. So check it out. Check out Manischewitz. If you think that was a good idea to make gefilte dogs, let them know. Maybe it's in our hands. The fate of the gefilte dog is in our hands. Let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of food mashup or food you would like to see next. Or if there's a recipe that you would like to see remade, let me know. Shoot me an email at micah@noshwithmicah.com. That is Micah. That's how you spell it. And in the meantime, check out the other episodes of Not Your Bubby's Nosh. Not Your Bubby's Nosh is a part of the Jew Folk Podcast Network and is produced by Jew Folk Inc. For more shows, check out tcjewfolk.com/podcast. If you've got questions, email me at micah@noshwithmicah.com.